Hauling nuclear fuel in Train Sim World probably wasn't on anyone's bingo cards just a few short years ago, but here we are, courtesy of Skyhook Games. This is, and probably will forever be, one of the most unique freight packs ever within the Train Sim World universe. Welcome to this review / should you buy, and today we're taking a look at the latest edition in Skyhook Games' Cargo Line series, Volume 5 Nuclear. We'll take a look at the features, the real world inspiration, gameplay, and at the end I'll let you know if I think it's worth buying or not, and for how much. It comes with a refreshed British Rail Class 20 and a brand new wagon, utilising 2 of the 3 West Coast mainline routes we have available in the game, bringing in a total of 20 timetable services and 5 scenarios. So let's properly get into it. To start off with, one of the 2 stars of the show, the Class 20/3. This comes in an unbranded DRS livery, which is basically a simple Oxford blue paint job. There are several features that differentiate this particular Class 20 from the /0 designation that the Tees Valley line brought us back in Train Sim World 2. First off, we've got a more modernised cab with both GSMR and NRN included. NRN being the older analog radio system that was used in trains before the introduction of GSMR, so as expected, it's completely non-functional. However, on the GSMR, I was surprised to see that the contact signaler function was non-existent, although everything else seems to be working on there. It seems that the pattern of features randomly appearing and disappearing with each DLC unfortunately continues. Alongside those additions, we now have Y-Pack headlights. These are modern high-intensity headlights fitted to older locos such as the Class 20 to replace the weaker and dimmer lamps they had originally. Lastly, there is the addition of a panic button inside the cab, which is completely non-functional in game. In reality, however, when pressed, the button would send out an emergency call through the GSMR, alerting the signaller and also other trains within the same network area that there was an emergency. And finally, one thing I noticed that I didn't find mentioned in any article was the addition of thick diesel smoke now coming out of the Class 20, specifically under hard acceleration. The second star of the show that Volume 5 brings us is the FNA-D nuclear flask wagon. These can be hauled in both loaded and empty variants. As always with the cargo line packs, the wagon is made to a high level of quality with clearly a great attention to detail paid to it. One fun feature of the wagon is that the padlocks on the flask container can be checked. However, I didn't find this out until I was taking a closer look at it during a run while on stream. I feel like it would have been great to have made use of this at some point on at least one scenario. When running the loaded container, the train does feel significantly heavier under both braking and acceleration. Due to the nature of the cargo, these wagons are always ran in a multi-loco formation for redundancy purposes, minimizing any potential risks. I think it's also worth mentioning that there is somewhat of a cool factor here with these wagons, as they're quite physically different to the rest of the container wagons we already have available in the game. The routes utilised by this pack are 2 of the 3 West Coast mainline routes that we have in game. So we have Dovetail's West Coast mainline south running between London Euston and Milton Keynes. On that particular route, we have ourselves 2 scenarios and 4 Class 20 hauled timetable services. And we also have Just Trains' West Coast mainline Preston to Carlisle route, where we have ourselves 3 scenarios and 14 Class 47 hauled timetabled services. In addition to those, if you're in ownership of the newly released Riviera line, then you'll find 2 Class 66 hauled timetable services also. As per usual, this DLC will also add to your free roam, formation designer and livery designer experiences. I can't say I was pleased with the scenarios that were included, as apart from one, they were all A to B runs, a problem I've highlighted in my previous video. And so in reality, in my opinion, what you really actually get is 24 timetable services and just one scenario. In terms of real life background, these formations are still seen in operation today, and with the Class 20s being used as well, despite their decades old age. They're incredibly rare, and although I've never been lucky enough to catch one, I'm sure many of you out there have. In terms of the nuclear waste that they carry, is specifically spent nuclear fuel, which is the used up fuel that comes out of a nuclear reactor, and is as dangerous as you probably think. Hence the strict protocols when it comes to it being transported. I'm going to add a little section for bugs, which I'll probably start doing for these types of videos moving forwards. The bugs may not be limited to these mentions, and if you get a hold of the pack, it's entirely possible you may find more, a little something to bear in mind. I have found when driving the Class 20 in the rain, there will only be droplets on the window when stationary. For some reason, they stop showing up when moving forwards. There's also an issue with the headlights, where they seemingly have a mind of their own. They could turn off after being on, or they just don't turn on at all sometimes. I found simply switching them off and then back on again usually solves it. Also, the AWS and DSD alarms and beeps are ear-piercingly loud. They need to be toned back. Finally, I found sometimes when walking around inside the cab, you seem to magically rise and lower back down with no explanation, as if there were invisible steep hills within the cab. Overall, my experience with it, honestly, for the most part, pretty great. Aside from one scenario, which included coupling up to the wagons, the rest of them and the associated timetable services were all A to B, as I mentioned before. This means the runs can get a little boring. However, if you do have the layers for both the included West Coast mainline routes, there's plenty of varying AI traffic to be seen. I enjoyed the challenge of carrying heavy freight and having to actively think ahead of time with regards to braking especially. Price wise, I don't think £12.99 is bad, but if you can snag it at 10 or even 20% off, I think that's where you'll really get your money's worth. I hope I didn't miss anything, but if I did, please do let me know down below, and also let me know your own opinions on the pack. Thank you very much for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, stay safe, health is wealth. Until next time, peace out.